Welcome to the Hot English CD.
Plane stories. When was the last time you went on a plane? Did you have a good journey? Or did you have a bad one? Here's a collection of stories about people's experiences on aeroplanes. This is the first part of a mini-series. That sinking feeling. John Wilkins found out that internal flights in some East European countries can be more expensive than intercontinental ones.
I once had to take an internal flight in a country in East Europe. I won't name names, partly because I have to return there every now and then, and partly because I don't think they deserve a really bad name. Anyway, I checked in all right, and I went to the departure gate. But before boarding, there was another checkpoint. The captain of the plane was there, and he was talking to the passengers. At first I thought he was just greeting the passengers. Then it was my turn, and I realized how wrong I had been. "You need to pay a 40% surcharge," the captain told me in a thick East European accent. "What?" I exclaimed. "But I've already paid for my ticket." "Yes, you have paid for the ticket, but this does not give you the right to a seat. You pay the 40% surcharge or you stand." I was so furious that I just said, "Okay, I stand." And with that, I boarded the plane and I stood the whole way. Luckily, it wasn't a long flight. White knuckle ride. Sandra had a really scary flight from St. Louis to Indianapolis last August.
The night I took the flight to Indianapolis was just 3 days after a major plane crash. As a result, everyone was a bit nervous. Just to make matters worse, there was a big storm, with rain pouring down and lightning flashing in the sky. When it was time to board, they hustled us onto the plane, closed the doors, and then told us that they had just been informed that we couldn't take off because of the weather. We sat there for 45 long minutes until the clearance was given for takeoff. No sooner were we in the air than the passenger area filled with smoke. Everyone started coughing and choking. Luckily, the oxygen masks dropped and we were able to breathe normally. Seconds later, the planes made a number of sickening turns and steadily lost altitude. Next thing, I remember looking out of the window and seeing all these fire engines on the runway. When we landed, we had to slide down the emergency chute. The thing that made everyone really angry was that at no point did the crew say anything to us, and our attempts to speak to the captain were all in vain as he was nowhere to be seen. Not enough bags. Emil Saunders had one of the most disgusting flights of his life on his way to Melbourne.
A few months ago, I was on a business trip to Melbourne. The flight was quite full, and including a party of unaccompanied minors. The flight attendants had gathered all the children together and sat them on 3 rows next to each other, just across from where I was sitting. I guess the flight attendants thought this would make their job easier, as they could keep an eye on the 8 children without much trouble. But they were wrong. Shortly after takeoff, one of the youngsters rang the buzzer. "I feel sick," the little girl told the flight attendant. The attendant quickly handed the child an airsick bag, then went to get some water. But just as she got back, the girl threw up, and that seemed to have a domino effect, and all the kids started vomiting, one after the other. All the attendants were running around the plane trying to get as many sick bags as they could. Eventually they ran out. I must say it was quite funny, although it did put me off my lunch. How nice. Greg remembers a very pleasant experience on a Southeast Asian flight to Nepal.
I was on a flight from Hong Kong to Kathmandu which was delayed. The official excuse was the weather, but I saw a group of technicians inspecting the plane on the runway. Eventually, we began to board the plane at 11:30 p.m, more than 10 hours later than scheduled. While the plane taxied across the runway, our flight attendants began to give emergency instructions. "In the case of an emergency," one of them said, "lights in the aisle will guide you to the exits." And just at that moment, the main lights went out and the emergency lights came on. In a panic, the flight attendants scrambled for places to sit. They all found a seat except one, who was trapped in the middle of the plane. So, do you know what she did? Well, she just reached down to the nearest man, me, unbuckled my seatbelt and sat on my lap, belting herself in as the plane lifted off the ground. I must say, that was one of the most pleasant takeoffs I've ever had.
Story time.
Jokes, stories, and anecdotes is told by native English speakers.
The religious parrots.
A lady goes to her priest and says, "Father, I have a problem. I have 2 female talking parrots, but they only know how to say one thing." "What do they say?" the priest asks. "They say, 'Hi there, big boy. Want to have some fun?'" That's terrible, the priest says, but I have a solution to your problem. Bring your 2 female parrots over to my house. I'll put them with my 2 male talking parrots who are very religious. I personally taught them how to pray and read the Bible. They will stop your parrots from speaking like that, and afterwards your female parrots will learn how to pray. Oh, thank you, the woman responds. So the next day the woman brings her female parrots to the priest's house. At that moment, the 2 male parrots are praying in their cage. Without saying a word, the lady puts her 2 female parrots in with the male parrots. Of course, the first thing they say is, "Hi there, big boy, want to have some fun?" At the sound of the female parrot voices, one male parrot looks up and says, "Quick, put the beads away, our prayers have been answered." Lawyer joke.
3 lawyers and 3 engineers are traveling by train to a conference. At the station, the 3 lawyers each buy their tickets and watch in amazement as the 3 engineers buy just 1 ticket. "How are 3 people going to travel with only 1 ticket?" asks one of the lawyers. "It's easy, just watch," one of the engineers answers. So all 6 of them board the train. The lawyers take their seats, but the 3 engineers cram into a toilet and close the door behind them. Shortly afterwards, the ticket inspector comes around, collecting tickets. He knocks on the toilet door and says, "Tickets, please." The toilet door opens just a bit and a single arm appears with a ticket in its hand. The conductor takes the ticket and moves on. The lawyers see this and agree that it's a very clever idea. After the conference, the lawyers decide to copy the engineers on the return trip and save some money. So when they get to the station, they buy just 1 single ticket. But to their astonishment, the engineers don't buy a ticket at all. "Hey, how are you going to travel without a ticket?" asks one lawyer. "Watch and you'll see," says one of the engineers. So all 6 of them get on the train, and the 3 lawyers cram into 1 toilet, and the 3 engineers cram into another toilet nearby. The train departs, but shortly afterwards, one of the engineers leaves his toilet and walks over to the other toilet where the lawyers are hiding, and he knocks on the door and he says, "Tickets, please."
Dictionary of Slang.
It's very late at night and you are still working. You decide it's time to stop.
Let's finish work for today.
Let's stop for today. Let's knock it on the head. Let's call it a day. That's enough for now. I'm dead. It's time to shoot. I'm out of here.
An anonymous caller informs you that you have just won 20,000 euros. You are a bit suspicious.
There must be something more to this than meets the eye.
I'm not sure about this one. What's the catch? This is a bit fishy. I smell a rat.
You see a street dog. It's an ordinary dog, and it isn't a special breed or pedigree.
Look at that mongrel.
Look at that dog. Look at that mutt.
A friend wants to go to the cinema and asks you if you are busy tonight. You say that you aren't busy.
I have no pressing engagements tonight.
I'm free tonight. I don't really have anything major to do tonight. I'm free. I'm available for selection. I'm up for it. I've got nothing on.
You are talking to a colleague who is a bit strange and who frightens you.
I feel emotionally uncomfortable near him.
He's a bit weird. He gives me the willies. He gives me the creeps. He gives me the heebie-jeebies. He's a bit of a nutter. He's a psycho.
You went out to lunch with a friend and you paid for both of you. Your friend offered to pay you back, but 6 weeks later he still hasn't paid you. You are angry.
I paid 50 euros and received no counter-payment.
I lost 50 euros. I'm owed 50 euros. I'm 50 euros out of pocket. I'm short 50 euros. That's 50 euros down the drain.
You've had a lot of luck for the past 6 weeks. You describe this situation to a friend.
I have been most fortunate these past 6 weeks.
I've been lucky for 6 weeks. I'm on a roll. I've got the Midas touch. Everything I touch turns to gold. I'm going through a purple patch. Just call me Golden Balls.
Typical dialogues.
The airport. In this conversation, Mr. Fleet is travelling abroad. He's in the airport and he's just checking in his baggage. Read or listen to the conversation and answer these 2 questions. Number 1. What is the problem with his bag? Number 2. What live creature does he have in his bag? Good morning, sir. May I see your ticket and passport, please?
Yes, certainly. Here you are.
Would you like a window seat or an aisle seat?
Oh, window seat, please.
Could you place your bag on the luggage belt, please?
Oh, yes, there.
Did you pack the bag yourself, sir?
Yes, I did.
Has anyone interfered with your bag or asked you to take anything on board the plane?
Certainly not.
Do you have any firearms, hazardous material or sharp instruments in your bag?
No.
Oh dear, sir, I'm afraid you're overweight.
Well, I know I'm a bit fat, but there's no need to get personal.
No, I mean you've exceeded the maximum baggage allowance of 20 kilos.
What?
You're only allowed to take 20 kilos. Your bag weighs 200 kilos. Your bag's too heavy.
Oh, is it?
Yes, and... What? What's that noise?
What noise?
Do you have a chicken in that bag?
No, I have no chickens.
Mr. Fleet, may I remind you that no livestock may be taken on board our aircraft?
Oh, well, why didn't you tell me before? And besides, he's only a little chicken.
No chickens.
Not even a very special chicken?
No chickens whatsoever.
Oh, well, I'll just have to leave my bag full of heavy bricks and one chicken here, then.
No, you can't leave a live chicken here.
Oh, yes, I'll let the chicken out. Look, there he goes. Such a lovely bird.
I would just like to warn you that any unattended luggage will be removed and may be destroyed.
Destroyed? How do you destroy a bag?
To tell you the truth, I don't really know. They just tell us to say that stuff. Anyway, here's your boarding card. You need to check in at gate 23 in about half an hour. Have a nice flight.
Oh, thank you very much. And take over my chicken for me, would you?
Yes, of course. It'll be a pleasure.
Dr. Finger's pronunciation course. Hello everybody and welcome to my pronunciation course.
This is the second part of our series on the differences in pronunciation between British and American English. This month we're looking at various sounds. 1. The R sound. In British English, this vowel sound is very long, and in American it is much shorter. Listen to the difference. The first speaker in each group is speaking in a standard British English accent, and the second speaker is using standard American English. Glass.
Glass.
Dance.
Dance.
Castle.
Castle.
Fast.
Fast.
Class.
Class.
After.
After.
Pass.
Pass.
Chance.
Chance.
Bath.
Bath.
2. The R sound with an R. When there is a letter R in words with this vowel sound, speakers of American English pronounce the R quite prominently. Listen to the differences. Barn.
Barn.
March.
March.
Heart.
Heart.
Car.
Car.
Guitar.
Guitar.
Far.
Far.
Shark.
Shark.
3. The OR sound. This sound is pronounced differently too in British and American English. Dawn.
Dawn.
Bought.
Bought.
Caught.
Caught.
Sought.
Sought.
Brought.
Brought.
That's it. Taught.
Taught.
4. The OR sound with an R. And as before, when there is a letter R, American English speakers make this R sound quite prominent. Port.
Port.
Fork.
Fork.
Cord.
Cord.
Sport.
Sport.
Dork.
Dork.
Pork.
Pork.
Cork.
Cork.
5. The OW sound. And lastly, let's look at this sound. Listen and repeat. Ground.
Ground.
Round.
Round.
Mound.
Mound.
sound,
sound,
bound,
bound,
found.
found.
Exercise. Now see if you can do this little exercise. Listen to each sentence and say which one is in British English. Write bruh next to the numbers below if you think the speaker is using a British English accent. And put an am next to the ones that are American English. We've done the first one for you.
1. I've brought a new one for you.
2. I hate this pork. 3. We are about to arrive at the port.
4. It's almost dawn.
5. I don't like the sound of that.
6. We need some more cord.
7. We were almost caught. 8. They fell on the ground. 9. He was bound to know the answer.
10. The cork flew out of the bottle. 11. I know how to play the guitar.
12. What should we do after class? 13. I think I can see a shark. 14. This glass is dirty.
15. The soldiers had to march.
16. Is it far?
17. I don't think you'll pass the exam. 18. The king lives in the castle. 19. Were you born in a barn?
20. Don't drive so fast.
In the news, Hot English, the voice of truth.
A cheeky criminal. David Bowster has won an award for Cheekiest Criminal 2004. He was in court for smoking crack, running up $6,000 on his mother's credit card, and threatening to torch her house after she turned him in. But during the trial, Bowster's big concern was the uncomfortable ride back to prison. He told the court, "I don't think I can handle the crowded prison bus and the endless jailhouse transfer points." In a situation where other defendants might ask for mercy, Bowster said to the judge, "I'd like you to personally drive me back to prison." But the judge wasn't impressed. He not only ordered Bowster to return by bus, but also increased the original 37-month sentence by 4 months. The judge suggested the extra time behind bars would give Bowster a chance to reflect on his attitude.
An accidental shooting. A gun safety demonstration went horribly wrong just recently. Brad Munnings was talking to a group of police cadets on basic gun safety measures, such as checking a gun isn't loaded, cleaning a gun, and basic gun handling. But as he was demonstrating how to make sure a gun is unloaded, he accidentally shot himself in the leg. "I've always been very, very careful," Munnings said from his hospital bed, "but this time I was just an idiot." Munnings was later released from a hospital in Indianapolis after emergency surgery.
Police robbed. 46 Brazilian policemen were the victims of a spectacular robbery. The off-duty police officers were on their way to a sports competition when they were caught with their guard down. The bus with the unarmed policemen on board was heading for the city of Salvador, Bahia, when 2 cars with armed robbers forced it to stop. "The robbers took everything," said one of the victims, "including our cameras, mobile phones, wallets, and even our sports uniforms and trainers. I know of one guy who lost his trousers and shirt too," the police officer added. The suspects, who escaped, apparently did not know the bus was full of police. "We are looking for them right now," the police officer said.
Here are some more crank calls, those funny telephone calls that are designed to wind people up. Have fun listening to these too.
Crank call 1. The animal home. For this call, we phoned up a home for abandoned animals. Listen to the conversation and answer this question. Why did we phone the animal home?
Harpo's Animal Refuge. How can I help you?
Oh, hello.
Hello.
Yes, hello. Is this the place that takes in abandoned animals?
Yes, that's right. We take care of abandoned animals. How can I help you?
Well, I recently purchased a puppy for my son. Unfortunately, he's decided he doesn't want it anymore, and I was wondering whether you could take it off my hands.
We deal with abandoned animals.
Yes, I know. You just told me that. So can I bring the dog round?
No, you can't.
Well, I'm going to abandon it anyway, so I'm just trying to save you a bit of trouble.
Frankly, I find your attitude appalling.
Well, how much would it cost me to put the dog to sleep?
We're talking about a living creature here. It isn't your responsibility to educate your son to these matters.
You don't know what my son is like. He can be very persuasive at times. Anyway, I won't waste your time any longer. Bye.
Wait.
Crank call 2. The early morning call. For this call, we put in a classified ad, offering a cheap car. It didn't take long before we had a response. Listen to the telephone conversation and answer this question. Why does the ad say, call AM? Yeah?
Oh, hi, I was calling about the ad.
What?
The ad, you have an ad about a car?
It's 2 in the morning. Who the hell are you?
Your ad said call AM.
No, it said call Amy.
No, man, I got it here. It definitely said call AM. You know, like in the morning. Check it out.
Oh no, I told them to get it right.
Sorry about that. It definitely says call AM.
Yeah, no problem. Bye.
But hey, what about the car?
Oh, car's going for $4.50.
That's cheap.
Yeah, phone back later and you can speak to Amy.
Bar chat. British bar chat.
Bad TV. This month, 2 British men, Hamish and Travis, are talking about television. Listen to their conversation and answer these questions. Remember, you don't have to understand every word in order to understand the questions. Just listen for the key words. 1. What does one of the speakers say against television? 2. What does the other speaker say in favour of television?
So I've just been looking at the TV guide. There's just nothing on. It's just ridiculous.
What do you mean nothing on? Look at all those channels. There's loads of stuff.
But there's nothing decent to watch. It's TV these days, British TV.
Nothing decent. Have you looked at the BBC's listing? There's tons of stuff.
It's all game shows and these stupid reality shows. There's just nothing to watch anymore.
No, there's loads. I mean, the BBC, for example. I mean, there's loads of channels, but the BBC. I mean, it's got the best news programs in the world. The drama is fantastic.
They've reduced the number of news programs, the number of documentaries. It's all been reduced, and it's been replaced by these ridiculous reality shows. You know, people living in a house. How do they get on? People get eliminated.
People want to watch that kind of thing. It's good, but you know, as long as there's a balance, there's a bit of this, a bit of that, a bit of sport.
Well, should we be giving people what they want to watch, or should we be, in trying to educate them and give them?
Nah, TV's there for entertainment. If you want education, you go to university or college or something, don't you?
Hey, what's the time? Is it?
Well, it's 9 o'clock.
Wow. Oh, great! They've got the nominations for Big Brother. Quick, turn on the TV.
Bar chat.
US bar chat.
American football. This month, we're going to listen to 2 young Americans, John and Buck, who are talking about American football. Listen to the conversation and answer these questions. 1. What do they like about American football? 2. What don't they like about American football?
So, did you see the Super Bowl on TV this year?
Hell yeah, man. It was awesome.
The commercials are great, but I'm really into it for the contact.
Oh, definitely. Too bad those guys wear so many pads.
It's not like rugby where they just slaughter each other.
No kidding. Well, I kind of see where you'd need the pads. I mean, most of these guys are 350 pounds.
But they're only in it for the money anyway.
You think?
Definitely. I mean, all they do is complain about how they don't have enough money when they're getting paid millions of dollars a year. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from, man. They do bitch and moan a lot.
Hey, but it is fun to drink and watch the game on TV.
Hell yeah. It's definitely my favorite sport to watch on TV.
But I don't see why they call it football. I mean, they barely even use their feet.
Yeah, no kidding. And you wonder why people make fun of Americans.
I mean, they kick field goals and they punt the ball, but when else do they use their feet?
Mainly they throw, pass, and catch, and and no feet are involved.
So they'll call it throw and catch ball?
That doesn't sound so good.
We'll have to think of a new name for that sport.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe man ball.
Interview horror. Here are some more interview horror stories. Develop your own interview technique by learning from other people's mistakes. Desperate for love. 26-year-old Janie Simmons revealed more than was necessary during her interview.
I was applying for a job in the marketing department of a top international publishing house. I'm usually a bit of a nervous person, but the thought of an interview really put me on edge. During the interview, I was asked all the standard questions. What are you looking for? What don't you like in a job? What role do you see your boss playing? I was fine with most of the questions, but my answer to the third question really sealed my fate. Without thinking, I said, I need my boss to be my best friend. I'm so lonely. I just moved here a few months ago, and I haven't made any friends. I need a friend. Unfortunately, the interviewer's response wasn't very friendly. Aftershock. Sometimes the worst comes out after the interview's over, as 28-year-old Arnold found out.
A few days after an interview with a graphic design company, I received a telephone call. Well, you should be aware that you were not one of our top choices, the boss said. All the top candidates refused our offer to work with us. You're the only one left, so if you want the job, we'd be happy for you to take it. Not surprisingly, I politely declined. Watch out. 28-year-old Marcia Jones had 3 terrible interviews in a row.
I think I'm probably the unluckiest person in the world when it comes to interviews. During one interview with the vice president, the guy said, "Honey, you'll never get a job because you don't show enough skin." In another interview with an entertainment company, the male interviewer came into the room, closed the door, turned off the light, put his foot on the desk and asked, "So, baby, where do you live?" In a further interview for a job as a hotel receptionist, the interviewer proceeded to inform me that most women enter the hospitality industry because of the glamour. He then went on to tell me that other women found him really attractive. Now, I bet he wouldn't have made that comment if I'd been a man, or would he? Weirdo. James Hargreaves' interview was interrupted by some very unusual phone calls.
I was in this interview for a sales marketing job when the phone suddenly went. The guy interviewing me cut me off in mid-sentence, picked up the receiver, and answered the call. "Yes, I know he's French," he said, then hung up. About 10 minutes later, he got another call. This one was even stranger. He seemed to be listening for a while, then he suddenly said, "Is it his car?" And then he hung up again. I couldn't work out if he was being serious or not, or whether he was trying to make me nervous. Anyway, the last call was definitely the strangest of them all. It was clearly from his wife or partner. After saying, "Hi, honey," he said 3 cryptic things. "Is he lucid? Do you need me to come home tonight?" And, "Call me when you know more." Then he hung up and looked at me and said, "So where did you go to school?" I swear, I'd love to know what the hell that guy had been talking about. Oh, and by the way, I didn't take the job.
Bored. John Savage had to sit through a long exam when he applied for a job to be a security guard.
I had to undergo a ludicrous 500-question psychological examination when I applied to be a security guard during college. Among the 500 questions, there were no less than 35 questions asking me in slightly varied ways whether or not I had ever thought of killing myself. By the time I got to the 17th question, I was tempted to write something like, "No, but the idea is growing on me every time you ask."
Error terror. If you've ever been abroad, you've probably seen a poorly written menu full of spelling errors. But it isn't just foreigners who make mistakes. Native English speakers are just as bad. The following is a collection of badly written signs from shop windows and public places in English-speaking countries. See if you can identify the linguistic problem in each sentence. Then check our error analysis section for a full explanation. 1. At a restaurant gas station in West Virginia. Eat here and get gas. 2. In a barber shop in Manchester. During vacation of owner, a competent hairstylist will be here. 3. At a bookstore in London. Rare, out-of-print and non-existent books. 4. Notice in a toilet in Wisconsin. This urinal is out of order. Kindly use the floor below. 5. On the grounds of a private school in England. No trespassing without permission. 6. On a freeway in California. Fine for littering. 7. In a jewellery store in New Hampshire. Ears pierced while you wait.
Business Dialogues. Hi, and welcome to the Business Dialogue section of Hot English.
The exotic restaurant. In this dialogue, June and Frank, two partners who own an exotic restaurant, are discussing falling sales and ways of resolving the crisis. June has an interesting idea. Listen to the dialogue and answer these two questions. 1. Why are they in trouble? 2. What is June's solution to the problem? Things are looking bad. We've had a drop in the number of clients this past month and sales are really down. Plus our expenses are far too high. We've got to do something about it.
It's all my fault. I mean, paying top models to dance all night in our exotic restaurant is costing us too much. Admittedly, it does attract some extra customers.
Yeah, a few dirty old men who order a bowl of soup and then sit there for 2 hours watching our dancers.
And I suppose offering all customers a complimentary glass of champagne doesn't help with the cash flow either.
Certainly not. We're losing a fortune with that promotional idea of yours.
However, I do think we should stick with the dancing models. Perhaps we should just find some less expensive ones. Your mother dances, doesn't she?
You leave my mother out of this.
I've got a friend who once did aerobics. She might do.
No, seriously, I don't think this combination of traditional British food and exotic dancing will ever catch on. The public don't seem to understand it. We've got to change the overall concept.
So, what have you got in mind?
Well, I was thinking that instead of having female dancers, we could have some male dancers.
Why?
Well, for a start, we'd get rid of all those sad old men. And secondly, we'd attract lots of female customers for the male dancers.
Oh, yeah, that's a good idea. But who are you going to use? Do you know any men who can dance?
Well, the person I had in mind is not standing a million miles from here.
Who? Who are you talking about?
You fool!
But I can't dance.
Yes, you can. Look, it's easy. That's it. Now move your body up and down, up and down.
Hey, I think I'm getting the hang of this. It's really good fun.
Great. Now just start slowly taking your clothes off.
What?
Answers. Did you hear the answers? 1. They are in trouble because the dancers are too expensive, their expenses are too high, they aren't attracting customers, and they have been offering free champagne. 2. June suggests using male dancers. Now listen to some extracts from the conversation again. You will notice there are some missing words and a beeping sound. See if you can write the missing word. The answers are on the CD. 1. We've had a drop. The number of clients. 2. We've got to do something. It. 3. I do think we should stick. The dancing models. 4. I don't think this idea will ever catch. 5. We would get rid. All those sad old men. 6. I'm getting the hang. This. Answers Part 2. 1. We've had a drop in clients. 2. We've got to do something about it. 3. I do think we should stick with the dancing models. 4. I don't think this idea will ever catch on. 5. We would get rid of all those sad old men. 6. I'm getting the hang of this.
Business.
Budget Airlines. Hi and welcome to Business Chat. Today we'll be talking about low-cost airlines with Jeff Dett, the editor of Aviation Weekly. Jeff, in the past couple of years, more than 20 low-budget airlines have gone out of business. Why is this?
Well, a lot of low-cost airlines have been squeezed out by the price war and the increases in aviation fuel.
And who's responsible for this price war?
Well, mostly companies like EasyJet and Ryanair. And, the thing responsible for the increase in the cost of aviation fuel is probably the Iraq war. And the fact that a lot of these companies have been reducing their prices even, all through the year, not only in peak months like February or November.
Right. Well, surely this is affecting EasyJet and Ryanair as well, isn't it?
Yeah, well, their share price has plunged by about 15%, but basically they've got healthy balance sheets, so they're being able to hold out while other companies are falling.
Well, so how can they afford to do it?
Well, basically they've been sacrificing short-term shareholder value for longer-term benefits. They've managed to convince their shareholders that it's worth making life difficult for other companies while they can try and survive.
So who has been affected in the short term?
Well, just recently, this company called Jet Green, they were doing flights from Dublin to Rome and Nice and Alicante. They had to suspend their operations. They'd been trying to market themselves as the finest, most stylish, low-fare, low-cost airline, but they just couldn't afford to stay in the field.
Right. Okay. So what is the situation at the moment?
Well, there's lots of companies just ready to jump in where where other companies have gone bust.
Really?
Yeah, and there's lots of people prepared to put up capital for these new companies. And yeah, there's basically a lot of people who think the market's still quite open for new business.
Right. And how do you see the future developing?
Well, at the moment there are about 50 airlines operating in Europe charging low fares, and frankly many of these companies just won't be able to survive. They're charging too little, and it's just impossible to keep going at those rates.
And have any of the major companies been able to react in any way?
Yeah, well, they've been forced to lower their prices too, just to try and attract kind of casual travellers. But I suppose they'll hope to be able to increase those prices later on in the future.
Right. So the message really is to enjoy these low fares while we can.
That's it, yeah.
So thank you, Jeff. That was very interesting.
Thank you.
So you'll be flying back to Dublin tonight then, will you?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
I suppose we're going on one of the low-budget airlines then that you're always writing about and telling us all about?
Oh, no. First class on a British Airways jumbo jet for me, complimentary champagne, lobster thermidor, and the personal attention of a beautiful air hostess. Can't beat it.
That must cost a fortune.
Yeah, I suppose it does, but I'm not paying. Firm pays.
Yeah, right.
Sunrise paints the city gold, another day unfolds. But all I see is sleepy eyes and hair, a mess of gold. The coffee brews, the paper shuffles, the world outside is loud. But here in this quiet moment, our heart beats in a happy cloud. Because you're here, tangled in the sheets, a smile upon your face. The world can wait, its worries fade in this love-filled morning space. No grand gestures, no trumpets blaring, just the quiet joy we share. This ordinary morning love, a treasure beyond compare. The bus ride symphony of coughs and sighs, the daily grind begins. But through the drone I see your face, a memory that wins. The crowded streets, the endless tasks, the blur I barely see. Because in my mind I'm holding you, and that's all I need to be. Because you're there, a whispered thought, a warmth that fills my soul. The day goes by, a fleeting sigh, but our connection makes me whole. No fireworks, no spotlight shining, just the comfort that you bring. This ordinary love, a constant song my heart to yours will sing. Maybe someday grand adventures on beaches far away, but for now these stolen moments make my ordinary day. Because you're everywhere, a starlight in my night. The world fades out with you about. Everything feels just right. No fancy cars, no promises spoken, just the truth our eyes convey. This ordinary love, a perfect rhyme, forever and a day. Maybe someday grand adventures on beaches far away. The day goes by, a fleeting sigh, but our connection makes me whole. The crowded streets, the endless tasks, a blur I barely see. Because in my mind I'm holding you, and that's all I need to be. Maybe someday, grand adventures on beaches far away. But the day goes by, a fleeting sigh, but our connection makes me whole. No fireworks, no spotlight shining, just the comfort.
And that's the end of this Hot English CD. Bye for now.